Broken Light by Julia L. Celine was ready. She opened up the box, lifting the gear out, clutching onto it for dear life. She screwed it onto her contraption and, Celine, what are you doing? Stop! Stop touching that. Celine froze. Oh, Mabel, come on. Why do you always do this? She heard her name being called. It was her mother. Celine, let me tell you about your grandfather, she said softly. It was around 5 years ago, when your grandfather was a not very known inventor, but he made very interesting things. But one day he did a contraption wrong, and he disappeared. Nobody knows where he went or what happened to him. Her mom held back tears. I'm sorry you never were able to meet him. But what's with Mabel? Celine asked. Her mother hesitated for a moment. She would always go to his workshop and help him with his contraptions. Just then Pootie the cat walked up. She meowed at Celine, and she knew she wanted to be picked up. Her mother continued. She brought home with her some blueprints to some inventions he didn't finish, and she is obsessed with finishing them. Celine thanked her mother and went back upstairs. She saw Mabel clutching to the railing, tears in her eyes. So now you know, Mabel muttered. The next day, Celine walked downstairs to see Mabel waiting for her. I'm sorry, she said. Me too, replied Celine. I had no idea that was so important to you. I think it's time I told you what Grandfather said. Mabel took a box out of her drawer. She opened it, and there was the most beautiful crystal gear she had ever seen. This was his most prized possession. He could never find a use for it, though, so he gave it to us. Mabel, there's a note. Read it, she yelled. It read, Mabel and Celine, I had no use for this thing, and I hope you put it to good use. Mabel took the gear in her hand, like it was the best thing she had ever seen. I know what to do with this, but you have to help me. Celine was shocked. She felt like her inner core had been unlocked. She grabbed the gear from Mabel's hands and took a bunch of random parts from around the room. Mabel just stared at her in shock. Celine started to build a machine, and when it was completed, it looked like a mess. Celine, what did you do? Just crank the lever. Mabel cranked it, and there was a flash of light. They felt like they had been transported. They were in a grimy cave, and they could see a shadow, a moving shadow. They also saw a bunch of parts on the ground. Celine and Mabel called, hello, in shock and fear. The shadow moved closer. They saw a man with a long white jacket and goggles on his head. The man stared at them, whispering, You used the gear, didn't you? Yes, Grandfather, we did. Mabel tried to hug her grandfather, but her arms passed through. I am merely a hologram. Go back now while you have time. But go. There was a flash of light. Broken light.